So the shareholder count numbers for AMC have finally been released, and here they are. We have 501,780,240 shares outstanding for AMC stock. There are roughly 4.1 million different investors in AMC, and we hold roughly 120 shares on average in our portfolios. Now the good news is that apes, these retail investors out there, own about 80% of AMC at this point. This is excellent news, but we also need to talk about these numbers a little bit because I've already seen the math floating around on Twitter, and it's kind of backwards. So let's discuss it. Let's talk about why it's such excellent news that we have so many investors in AMC right now. And of course, if all of this sounds like something you're interested in, let's get started. What's up, everybody? I'm Clay. I'm here to make 2021 the best year ever. If you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Join us. Become a bro. We are here every single day, and we are growing our portfolios together. All right, we know that there are 501,780,240 shares outstanding for AMC stock, and we own 80% of these shares. Now, I've already seen the math where people are out there saying that, okay, the retail investors own 80%, there are 4.1 million retail investors, and we own about 120 shares each, so they multiply that out, they get like 490 million, and then they say if that's 80%, then we got to add this in, and add this in, and add this in, and it already equals 170% of the 501 million. Well, that's not how it works, guys. That's not the math you use. The most shares that are outstanding, the most shares that are on record, that's a better way to say it right now, on record for AMC are the 501,780,240 shares. AMC will have no way of knowing any naked shorts out there. They will have no way of knowing any synthetic shares out there. They will have no way of knowing any phantom shares out there. So these are the numbers that AMC knows. So if you go ahead and you look at like people doing this math, they're essentially doing it wrong. The 4.1 million are the individual investors. It's not strictly retail investors. It's how many different investors own AMC. And if you multiply those numbers out, we know that they're rounded numbers. So if you take the 4.1 million, who knows what the after the 0.1 is? So multiply that by the roughly 120 and you get the 501 million shares. But that's okay, all right? Synthetic shares, these phantom shares are a different story. They're kept track of. The SEC will know about them. And that is a completely different sideline that you need to be looking at right now. And don't focus too much on that at this point. Let it be icing on the cake. I know that that's the main story on everybody's mind is how many naked shorts are out there, how many synthetics are out there. If these guys are really manipulating the market like this, really manipulating AMC like this, it could go to trillions of dollars per share. Look, the synthetics will help because they will be covered, absolutely. The phantom shares will be covered, absolutely. But guys, the story remains the same. If you don't hold the synthetic shares, the price doesn't go that high. So the story of the game is to hold the stock until it goes higher, right? It doesn't matter if there's 1 million or 1 trillion shares that need to be covered. If you hold all of the shares that need to be covered, the price goes up. So that's my 2 cents on all the synthetics at this point. Sure, they could exist, but the shareholder count numbers don't prove those. What's the big story with the shareholder count numbers? It's the fact that retail investors, 1, own 80%. That's excellent news, okay? 2, the fact that there are 4.1 million investors in AMC. Institutional investors, they make up a very small portion of that. They own a lot of shares, but they make up a very small portion of that. And the fact that we only have 120 shares on average in our portfolios. Why are these excellent numbers? Okay, we're stronger together. We know this by now. It's not just a motto. We are stronger together. Excellent. And there are 4.1 million of us. A couple months ago, there were 3.2 million of us. So you're telling somebody about AMC. You're sharing your research with somebody about AMC. And it's obvious. You know, I've talked to so many people in my live streams, and they say, yes, I told AMC, I told 6 people about AMC, and they all bought in. Or I told 10 people, and 5 people bought in. It's evident that we're telling people about AMC and that they're buying in because these numbers are drastically increasing. Now, they can continue to increase. If you look at 4.1 million in the grand scheme of things, it's a small number. It really is. There are so many people left out there that haven't bought AMC yet that the influx of buyers could just drive this price sky high. And it's already sky high at $55, $45 per share. Think about it. A couple months ago, we were at $5 per share, guys. We've already 10x'd, and the shorts haven't covered a position, okay? They have not covered a short position yet. All of this price action is because we're telling people about AMC. They're going out. They're buying it. It's going to drive the price higher, and then it's eventually going to drive the hedge funds into a margin call, and the squeeze will begin. So this is all good news. Now, we know in order for the squeeze to begin, there's no magic number you reach, no magic shareholder number, and no magic price number that you can reach. But with 120 shares in our portfolios on average, one of my biggest drawbacks to reaching these crazy high prices, and I don't want to say $1,000 is a crazy high price. I believe that that is reachable. I believe I'm very optimistic that we could reach that price, and I really hope that we can see 1,000 before people start to get too tempted. But think about it. If you were out there assuming that everybody's got 5,000 shares in their portfolio, $1,000 per share is going to give them a $5 million account, they're going to be tempted to take their profits much before that. Okay? Now, if you know that everybody only has 120 shares in their portfolio, and the institutional investors are drastically dragging that number up, and the actual retail investors could potentially hold much less than 120 shares in their portfolio, we're not going to be tempted very early on to take our profits. So that alleviates some of the pain and really allows us to drive that stock price to these crazy high levels before people become too tempted and before people really need to take that profit because they've got $1 million in their portfolio. Think about it. If the average shares is 120, I mean, you could use 100 to make the math a little bit easier, but if the average shares are 100 per portfolio, the price would need to go to $10,000 per share before we reach that level of $1 million in our portfolio, right? So that drastically reduces the temptation along the way up because the less shares you hold in your portfolio, the longer you could potentially withstand the temptation and hold out and see those larger gains. So in the grand scheme of things, guys, whether or not the shareholder count confirms your suspicion of synthetic shares or confirms your suspicion of naked shorting, you can go that direction if you want. But the facts are the facts. We know there's 500 million shares outstanding. We know that we own 80% of it. And we know that if there's only 100 shares on average in everybody's portfolio, people are going to be tempted further along the lines and further off before they start taking their profits and selling their shares back to the hedge funds. So hopefully this clears up the numbers just a little bit and we get a better understanding of, yes, these numbers are possible that we can reach and that you guys are willing to hold out. So I always like to ask the question, if you're willing to hold your stock, your AMC stock, make sure to let us know down in the comments below if you're holding out and if you want to see these ridiculously high price levels, guys. And of course, if that subscribe button is still red, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Join us, become a bro. We are here every single day and we are growing our portfolios together. Use the link in the description below for Webull. Sign up, deposit $100, get those free stocks, sell those free stocks if you want, and buy AMC. ClayBro.com if you would like a bro shirt. I know it's backwards, but trust me, it's not backwards in real life. And Twitter, ClayBro883. And guys, until the next time, I hope that each and every one of you have an awesome day.